Hi, it's Leia here from the Center of Key, and I just want to answer this question that I got recently on one of my YouTube videos, which was asking about whether there are gluten-free options on a macrobiotic diet. And I wanted to say first and foremost that macrobiotics is based on seasonal, whole food and plant-based eating. There can be meat and eggs and fish in the mix, but if they are there, they're in very small quantities relative to all the other types of food that you would be eating, such as whole grains, vegetables, legumes, and some seasonal fruits. So, as far as gluten-free goes, there are many options in the whole grains that we can choose from to avoid having gluten. So things like brown rice, buckwheat, millet, even oats, which are naturally gluten-free, but you have to buy the gluten-free variety because sometimes they're processed in places where where gluten-based grains are also processed. So it's important to check the labels. Things also like amaranth and quinoa are other grains or pseudo grains that you could use to include in your diet if you're wanting to avoid gluten. And of course, things like tamari, which is a type of soy sauce, which is actually a byproduct of miso making. And you can watch my other video about that here, which I'll put a link to somewhere. And so tamari is a wheat-free soy sauce. It's slightly darker as far as the soy goes. And I like to use tamari when I'm in the cooking process, so either making a sauce or adding to a soup, that type of thing. I generally wouldn't use tamari after a meal, like adding it to something after I've cooked as a seasoning on the table, but you could dilute it with a little bit of water, 50-50, to make it not as strong if you wanted to use it at the table instead of, say, using shoyu or soy sauce, which would potentially have wheat in it. So going gluten-free obviously encompasses some significant changes in the diet. Things that contain gluten are things like wheat and wheat products, and some other grains as well that might have traces of wheat, such as traces of gluten, such as spelt. So what I've sort of come to realize over the years is that a lot of people who have gluten sensitivities or are intolerant to gluten, they tend to want to find substitutes to all those favorite foods, pizza bases, breads, pastries, all that kind of stuff. And I would suggest that if gluten is an issue for you, that, obviously these types of substitutes using gluten-free bases for pizzas or using gluten-free flour for baking are a great sort of substitute if you want to avoid gluten but still have all those lovely, delicious pastries and cakes and things like that, and bread-based products. But I would also suggest that potentially the baked flour products that we tend to have a lot of gluten in them because they're made from wheat flour, might actually be best to avoid for a little period of time to give your digestive system a break, because those sorts of products, we've got flour and water mixed together and it can become a very glue-like substance. And by eating too many of these baked flour products, they can actually block up our intestines. So if you had an issue with gluten sensitivity, I would suggest that you try to avoid any types of even substitute type products that are gluten-free, those breads, those cakes, those pastries and pizzas, and either just eat whole grains as they are and find some alternative ways of using them, salads, stir fries, that type of thing. Or just, taking a break from having those processed flour products, whether they're made from, obviously gluten-free grains, because they could be causing disturbances in your large intestine and you want to clear that out. So by having the whole grains instead, you'll get all that fiber that you need to get your digestive system working again, to get the bacteria in your digestive system reproducing so that they can promote basically extract the nutrients from those types of foods, and so you can absorb them and then eliminate the waste. So giving your digestive system a bit of a reset, and then gradually just reintroducing those baked foods that are made from those wheat and flour-based products. If you're going to try wheat again, then see how you go. So that would be my suggestion. I hope this makes sense. If this raises any more questions, then please leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you're thinking, and hopefully I can answer any further questions you may have about this topic.